So, you're wondering how to do Diana. Well, that's really simple. I'll show you how. All you have to do is come to the community center, and as long as Diana is in office with her mythological ritual perk, you are able to do this. All you have to do is grab the ancestral spade for 5,000 coins and 32 gold ingots, and the griffin pet for 25,000 coins. If you buy both of these together, it will run you back roughly 35,000 coins. Now this is because the 32 gold ingots might be expensive, might not be, depends on how the bazaar is doing, but this is usually very cheap to get into. Now, in order to get more loot and better mobs from the mythological ritual, you need a higher level griffin pet. And the way to level up your griffin pet is by crafting griffin pet upgrade stones, which first you need to get a base variant before then changing it into whatever variant you need, whether it be rare, epic, uncommon, or legendary. And the higher the tier, the more expensive they are. Now, let's get into how to do a mythological ritual griffin burrow chain. First, you grab your ancestral spade and click it right click it until you see these particles come up. Then you'll see some particles on the ground. Click on it with your ancestral spade and there'll be this arrow thing that pops up. Now, what you have to do is just click on the spade again and run around trying to follow the echo, and your goal is for that echo to show you how to get there. Now sometimes these burrows will be close together, other times they'll be across the map, so ideally you want to have an armor set that either gives you a lot of mana or a lot of speed, ideally both. But you also want it to give decent combat stats, as the higher rarity your griffin pet is, the harder to defeat the mobs become. Because at the lower rarities, like common and uncommon, most griffin pets only really give you very weak mobs which can usually be defeated rather easy if you have a decent set of armor. However, once they get to rare and higher, these mobs become much harder to beat and you need actual combat oriented armor for this. Now if you still want to use Sorrow armor, which gives a lot of magic find and is very useful for making money, what you should do, ideally, is to use your combat set, let's say for example, Shadow Assassin armor, which gives good combat stats, and then when the boss is low, say 5% health, and you know that there won't be too hard to defeat, because sometimes Sorrow armor gives pretty bad combat stats unless it's enchanted. What you do is you then, in combat, you switch your armor sets so that it gives you more combat-oriented stats. That way, once you're done with defeating most of the mob, you can still kill the mob with the 20 magic find for the ideal setup of getting money from mythological rituals. Now, currently I'm sitting at about 102 magic find, which is pretty good, but not enough. And ideally, for mythological rituals, you have much more. Let's see, for example, this Gaia construct only shows up once you have about 300 rare gift pet, and it deals quite a bit of damage. So ideally you want to have some good support here. You also want to dodge these iron blocks which show up on the ground, due to the fact that they deal lightning damage, which deals way too much damage for 3 So ideally, once it's down to about 5 or 10,000 health, you want to switch to your Sorrow armor, kill it. And now whenever you have 2 seconds, you should ideally be able to run away, quickly swap armors, but sadly I was not able to do that here. But now once you've defeated the Guardian of the Bros, you can just go mine it again. And if you don't know where it is, that's fine. You can just use the Echo to find it again. Now ideally you also want to have a good weapon for this. My recommendations for normal griffin pets is an aspect of the dragons, because those mobs aren't usually too hard to defeat, but rather they just require more strategy. However, once you get to a rare griffin pet or higher, I highly recommend going for something like a Livid Dagger or a Shadow Fury. But if you do want to use an aspect of the dragons, I recommend getting a Dragon Fused Glove to pair with it, because that will allow for the aspect of the dragons to get buffed. Now, when uncovering griffin burrows, you might see that there's a number in chat, like a 3, 4, like I can show you. You see this? It's a 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 1 out of 4, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 4. Now this is how you get chains. A griffin chain is very useful because if you get a 4 out of 4, you're likely to either roll a griffin feather, which sells for over 100,000 in the bazaar each, or you could get coins, which is absolutely poo-poo. Now all you need to do is just run around the hub doing this the entire time. It's a very simple thing, but you just need good gear for it. That's all I really recommend. You just need good gear, some mana, and sometimes good combat stats depending on the rarity of your griffin pet. Now to level up the griffin pet, different rarities need different resources. But typically, you can buy everything except for the griffin feathers on the bazaar. The reason I don't recommend getting the griffin feathers on the bazaar, is because they're extremely expensive, and would cost over 1,000,000 coins for just the base stone, which then has to be turned into each variant. And you can't just craft a legendary variant because you have to manually go up each variant from, and it requires like say you want to go from uncommon to epic, you still have to get the rare version even though you're able to afford the beyond uncommon one. Now, one of the common things you'll find is that you might run out of mana, so what I do there is just sit for a second and regen your health, because in between mobs, sometimes you'll get pretty low, and that can be pretty harmful, especially if you're uncovering a new set of griffin burrows. But usually the first one will never spawn a mob. However, I seem to have gotten unlucky, and this one did spawn a mob. But luckily, Shadow Assassin Armor does give pretty good defensive and offensive stats, so it's pretty easy to kill. And also, if you're not strong enough, as long as you have knockback on your weapon, you can just knock them into the void, and you still get kill credit. Now, you might see that Minotaurs give a stat called Bleed, which does deal damage over time, and they also have throwing axes, which do further damage. Now, I seem to be getting a lot of bad luck where I'm getting double Minotaurs, but that may just be because I knocked the Minotaur in the void and he came back to life. How bad my luck is. Now, Minotaurs, if you get a legendary rarity Griffin pet, they can drop a Daedalus stick. Daedalus stick? What's that, you ask? Money. Daedalus stick is a lot of money. Daedalus stick is the main goal when you're looking to get money. Now, the reason for this is that Daedalus sticks sell for quite a lot of money. If I'm not mistaken, it's over 1,000,000. I believe it might even be a few 100,000,000, but that is the end goal when you're going for Diana's mythological rituals. Now, when you're doing these griffin burrows, it's pretty easy to get lost. And so, if you have too many unfinished griffin burrow chains, what you can do is you can go to Diana in the community center, and all you have to do is just click the dirt block in her pop-up menu. I'll show you how. First, you click on Diana, and then you see this reset burrows. You'll see you have some, it will say last equipped griffin common, and then it'll say you have 7 mismatched burrows. So all you have to do is click to reset it, and you've cleared your griffin burrows. Now it should say that there is nothing there, and it'll just say your last equipped griffin pet. Now, even though you might have a different rarity griffin pet, like see, I have a rare one, it might still say your last equipped one is common, and that might be due to the fact that it's from a different mythological ritual event. For this, I'm not 100% certain, but it's pretty easy. Now, thank you for watching this guide. I really hope it helped, and peace. One thing I did realize is that you're not going for a Daedalus stick which sells for 100,000,000, but you're going for the Chimera books, which sell for over 130,000,000, and you also need a God Potion because it gives a lot of magic find and other positive stats like absorption and regeneration. So yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.